Hi guys, and welcome back to lesson 1.5 here in regional geography, based on the concepts of a region. Now, where we are in this lesson is we're over on page number 11, so I'm going to give you a chance to jump over as far as here, this page right here, and we'll get started with that 2019 question. Now, we've seen it in 2019, but we've also seen basically the exact same question in 2015 and also in 2012, so let's get started. So with this question here, what we are looking at, the question itself, what it asks us to do. It says examine how geomorphology or climate can be used to define regions with reference to examples that you have studied. Now, obviously this is a regional geography question, which means to me it appears as part of questions number 4, 5 or 6 on my Leave It Cert exam. It's also worth 30 marks to me. What that means is 15 minutes of my time it's allocated and 15 significant relevant points. Remember, we're only going to see a 30 marker as a part B or part C in the question. Now, in this case here, obviously, this time, what we're going to be focusing on is geomorphology. So here, I'm going to get you to highlight the word geomorphology, and we're going to bracket off the word climate. You can either put a line through it, bracket it off. We're going to focus on one. Again, my examiner has given me a choice here. Can be used to define regions with reference to examples that you have studied. Now again, even if they don't tell us to do more than one, what we're always trying to do is give that examiner more than one region, because oftentimes we pick up them quick, them easy marks for ourselves. Now, in this case here, we're going to do, or look at, I should say, 2 geomorphological regions. Number 1 and number 2. My first region here is going to be a karst region. My second is going to be a plain. Make sure you're taking this down. My karst region, I know, is based on Carboniferous limestone, or that's what it's associated with. It's a very distinctive landscape, whereas a plain is based on relief. So here, when I speak about karst landscapes, I might write a word like, I might say limestone, I might say rock type. I can say whatever I want here. I'm just going to say the word rock type. You can say rock type, or you could say something like limestone, either. But basically, you have a reference to why it's a geomorphological region. When I come down here for plain, I could say relief. I'm going to be discussing the relief. Or I might say something like lowland. Or I might say something like the word flat. It's almost flat. Now again, you don't need to use all these words, one of these. But basically in this case here, you're going to notice in your marking scheme on page number 11 there, your marking scheme says specific reference to geomorphology. They're your reference to geomorphology, just so you know that. Now, the final thing here we're going to see is we're going to look at examples. So we want an example of a karst landscape, an example or examples, and an example of a plain. Now, an example of a karst landscape, well, let's go for the one that we always discuss. That is going to be the burn in County Clare. Guys, we've looked at our karst landscape. This will be our 3rd time looking at our karst landscape. We've seen it in tectonic activity, we've seen it in the rock cycle, and now we're seeing it here in question 4, 5, and 6, my geomorphological region. My plain, we're going to go with the North European plain. Now, this is the first time more than likely you're going to be looking at the North European plain, but I want you to make a little mental note. You might even just jot it down beside it here, PB. What's PB represent? Paris Basin. Because a lot of the information we're going to give today, you're going to see for the North European plain is going to coincide with what we're going to see later on with the Paris Basin. For instance, the undulating landscape, the lowland flat relief, the fertile limon soils. All of that is going to be repeated when we get to the Paris Basin, because the Paris Basin is part of the North European plain. Now, you're probably looking at this going, okay, we're going good, we can see our structure. We're going to be speaking of our karst landscape with the burn in County Clare, our plain with the North European plain. Is there anything else quick and easy we can do? Of course there is. Well, we already know it because we've seen this in our part A, which you should already have studied and learnt. We can draw a label sketch map. Remember, not a label diagram, but a label sketch map. We're going to draw that label sketch map of Ireland and mark in the burn in County Clare. Now, marking scheme here can change or vary ever so slightly, but what we're going to see here is that examples get 2 marks plus 2 marks. Now, technically speaking, your example is going to be, for instance, the burn in County Clare. That is going to get a tick and 2 marks, and your North European plain is going to get a tick and 2 marks. Specific reference to geomorphology. Now, technically speaking, the word karst would do there, but the word rock type or limestone, any of them words there will do for that. Or alternatively, if you're speaking about your plain, relief, lowland, flat, they'll all do for that. Finally here, you'll see that you get a label sketch map. That label sketch map will get me a tick and 2 marks. Now guys, that's 2, 4, 6, 8. That is going to bring me up as far as 8 marks out of 30 straight away. Again, it's only taken us a couple of seconds, but it's getting us 8 out of 30. Now here, unlike later on when we get to our Irish regions, our European, our continental, subcontinental region, generally speaking, when we look in concepts of a region, our examiner never really looks for 8 and 7 split. However, if we're looking at regions, we're looking at 2 of anything, which we are here, we're going to try it. But generally in this section of the course, they don't look for that even split, that almost even split. And technically, if I wanted to, I could speak about a third geomorphological landscape, okay? Something like the Antrim-Derry Plateaus I could pull in here, or I could pull in my Leinster Batholith if I want. Don't need this, but I'm going to aim to have that almost even split of 8 significant relevant points with one and 7 significant relevant points with the other. That's more to start getting in that habit. Now, we see a similar question in 2015. We also see it in 2012 and in 2007. I want you to take a couple of minutes with each of them questions and dissect so that you have your clear structure, karst number 1, plane number 2, and again, make a little note that you can include other things from physical geography, but it's not a physical question. Guys, I'm going to turn across the page and I'm going to get started with my first geomorphological region, our karst landscape, and the Burren County Clare. So guys, across the page on page number 12, we're going to start off with our first geomorphological region, and as you'll see kind of behind me, half behind me, it is our karst landscape. Now, I'm jumping over as far as page number 12, you're going to jump over with me, and the first thing we're going to do, as you'll see here on the top of the page, is we're going to define our geomorphological region. Now, a geomorphological region are geological regions with unique and distinctive landscapes. Now, I want you to highlight the words unique and distinctive, despite me not having it highlighted there for you, and landforms, which make it different from areas around it. These regions have distinctive or defined rock types, rock structures, relief. When I speak about relief, I'm speaking about whether it's upland or it's lowland, and drainage patterns. Now that there, I want you to place a box around it. That's your definition for your geomorphological region. You may notice we say rock type, we say structure, we say relief, we say drainage patterns, and that actually can get us a tick and 2 marks. However, we're going to place our tick and 2 marks a little bit later down when we see our karst landscape. Jumping into our karst. Now, you're going to see here with karst, I've it split up into my sections. I have 7 sections, okay? Same 7 keywords, you're learning these in blocks. This is your structure. It's going to avoid that repetition. You'll always know what you're saying next. And remember, short, sweet sentences, keeping in that detail to get them SRPs, them ticks and 2s. Now, starting off here with my definition of a karst landscape. A karst landscape is an area of, highlight the word, exposed limestone. Now, when I say exposed limestone, what I mean is the soil cover is removed, and when you look down the ground, you see that limestone on the ground. Exposed limestone on the surface of the earth. The word, highlight the word, the word karst originates in highlight Kras. It originates from Kras in southwest Slovenia. Highlight word and highlight Kras, just to rearrange the letters and switch in that T. Kras in southwest Slovenia, where this type of landscape is particularly well developed. So here we're seeing it's exposed limestone. We're seeing where the word karst comes from, Kras in southwest Slovenia, where again it's very well developed. It's a very well developed karst landscape. Now, after this number 2, we're going to be jumping into the Burren County Clare. Why? Because this material again is being recycled, just like we've seen with our definition of a karst landscape from physical geography. So the Burren, again, tick and 2 marks. You'll see it there. You'll also see your tick and 2 for exposed limestone, or the word limestone. The Burren County Clare is a very distinctive karst landscape found here in Ireland. The Burren extends over, highlight 360 kilometres squared. It extends over 360 kilometres squared over counties Clare and Galway. Now, predominantly Clare, but also a little bit of Galway. It rises to heights of up to, highlight, 344 metres, with its highest point being at, highlight, Slieve Elva. Think of the girl's name, Elva, Slieve Elva. So there we have the Burren County Clare. We have its height and its area. Its area, 360 kilometres squared. Galway and Clare. Its height, 344 metres. Highest point at Slieve Elva. Continuing there, we're on to its formation number 3. How is it actually formed? Now, the Burren is composed of limestone formed when Ireland was, highlight the words, near the equator. Now, when you highlight near the equator, just like you did in your limestone essay, I want you to write down 10 degrees south. We are approximately 10 degrees south of the equator during the highlight the word Carboniferous, the Carboniferous geological period. Hence where the word Carboniferous limestone actually originates from. Now remember, if we're 10 degrees south of the equator, we're in a warm, clear sea, and that's where limestone is formed. When we speak about limestone, we always say it's a stratified rock formed on the bed of a warm, clear sea. We're not on a warm, clear sea now. We're approximately 51.1 degrees north of the equator, so not in the same location. Hot at 300 to 350, 300 to 350 million years ago. The rock was uplifted during the highlight the word Armonican, the Armonican folding period. Now, a few things to remember there. Most of that information I was actually taken from my limestone essay, because we were saying the Burning County Clare was formed at the same time as Irish limestone. That was when we were 10 degrees south of the equator, 300 to 350 million years ago, okay? During the Armonican folding period, that's when it was lifted up. And again, the Armonican folding period was the middle child of the folding period. You have Caledonian, you have Armonican, and finally you have Alpine. The Alpine didn't impact Ireland's shape whatsoever. Next on to Carboniferous limestone. Highlight the word Carboniferous limestone. Where did it get the name Carboniferous limestone? From the geological period it was formed in. Now, Carboniferous limestone is the type of limestone associated with your unique landscape known as karst. It's highlight hard, highlight grey, and highlight well jointed. It's hard, it's grey in colour, and it's well jointed. What do I mean by well jointed? It has lots of cracks within that rock. Now start thinking to yourself, there's lots of cracks within that rock. That means water, because we know what carbonation is now from physical geography. It means that that water, that weak carbonic acid, can sit in the rock. But the big thing here is, and I want you to highlight and place a star, it consists of at least 50% calcium carbonate. Under calcium carbonate, let's see, can you remember its chemical equation? CaCO3. At least 50% calcium carbonate, CaCO3, which makes it particularly highlight the word vulnerable and highlight carbonation, particularly vulnerable to the chemical weathering process of carbonation. Remember, carbonation is that process where that insoluble calcium carbonate is changed to soluble calcium bicarbonate. Onto my surface features that is created. Again, I'm not focusing on actually the process of carbonation here because this is not physical geography. What surface features do we actually find? Point number 5. Carbonation forms distinct or unique, highlight the word surface features. Now, surface features you find on the landscape. So if you went to the Burning County Clare today, you'd actually see them. A distinct surface feature called a limestone pavement in the burn. Now, a limestone pavement is the overall feature, but there's a couple of features on it. So what we see here is the vertical joints widen and deepen to form grikes. I'm going to explain that a little bit further on the board in a couple of seconds. Now, them grikes can be up to 2 meters deep, pop down 2 meters, and up to 30 centimeters wide. So again, they're very, very deep. They tend not to be hugely wide. Rectangular blocks of limestone called clints separate these grikes. The combination of these features is known as your highlight limestone pavement, clints and grikes. Sometimes the weak carbonic acid will settle on the surface of that limestone and carve out a hollow known as a highlight the word cairn. Highlight other. Other surface features form and they include your dry valleys, your swallow holes, and also your turlocks. A turlock is an important one there because we've seen that in short questions in 2018. Beside turlock, write down seasonal lake on a bed of permeable limestone. So a seasonal lake on a bed of permeable limestone. What does a turlock actually look like? It looks like a flood. So if I showed you an image of a turlock, like they did in 2018, you'd just be like, Tracy, that looks like a flood that's going to be there in the winter and not in the summer. You'd be correct. Organise walking tours for people with an interest in the environment and, ecotourism. Organise walking tours attract hundreds of thousands of visitors around the burn each year. Now that's my surface features. Let's think of my subsurface features. Now, my subsurface features is also referred to as my underground features. So the word subsurface and the word underground, they go hand in hand. Most of the burn's drainage system is highlight the word underground. The rivers carve out highlight the word caves and caverns, such as the Ailwee Cave and the Doolin Cave. Highlight Ailwee Cave and highlight Doolin Cave. The Ailwee Cave is one of the Burn's main tourist attractions, and it attracts between 10 and 11,000, between 10 and 11,000 visitors or tourists annually. Okay, now that's a huge amount of tourists going into a cave, and these are quite small and quite narrow. Highlight other features that we find, or subsurface features I should say, or underground features that we find is dripstone features. And dripstone features, we have our stalactites, which hang down from the ceiling. C is in stalactites. We have our stalagmites that grow up from the ground. We have our pillars for when they join, and curtains when a series joins together. Finally, my last point, which would be our 9th point here, is our flora and fauna. You're going to see the word flora there. Straight away when you see the word flora, I want you to write down vegetation. I want you to know that before we get to geoecology. Vegetation. Beside fauna, I want you to write down animals. Now, animals, it can include birds, it can include insects, anything that basically has legs or eyes, okay? We'll put it that way. Now, the Burn is home to unique flora and fauna. It's actually kind of like a subtropical kind of environment that it's developed, and that attracts eco-tourists every single year. Notice how we're bringing tourism into this essay in these last 3 points. The alpine flower, as well as the Burn blue butterfly, are going to be our 2 examples here. So you have the alpine flower, and also you have rare butterflies such as the Burn blue butterfly, and these are unique to the Burn in County Clare. They're found nowhere else in Ireland. Now guys, that there is quite long, but a lot of the information you already know. You know that information from physical geography. Now, it's all great going through it and highlighting our keywords and breaking it up, but now we want to get our mind map done. I'm going to get you to pop across over as far as page number 14, and you're going to see the top mind map there is left blank for you to fill this in. So, thinking about everything that we just learned, we're breaking it all down into 9 points. Obviously, you started off with your definition of a geomorphological region. It's a geological region with unique and distinctive, I'm really struggling with that word, unique and distinctive landscapes, okay, or characteristics, I should say. And they can be based on the rock type, which in this case it is, rock structure, drainage patterns, relief. Again, the definition doesn't have to be exact. Give me the definition. So when we're speaking about our karst landscape, which in this case here, you'll see is the Burn in County Clare, the word karst or burn can actually get that tick and 2 to start off with. We start off with a definition of what our karst landscape is. Well, we know that it is an area of exposed limestone. Now, exposed being the very important here, LS for limestone every single time. Obviously, the word limestone will get a tick and 2. Rock type, rock structure, keep that in your head. But it's exposed limestone on the surface of the earth. We know that already. We've used that definition in 2 other essays, in the rock cycle and in chemical weathering. The word karst, remember we're looking at not a physical but regional geography question, so we're looking at things like tourism rates and areas, tourism, and we're looking at like, I suppose, the flora and the fauna, and we're not on the area of the Burn in County Clare, we're looking at where the word originates from and the height and different things like that. So not just the physical landscape and how it actually develops, but everything around that. The word karst originates from Kras in southwest Slovenia. And there you're going to find a very distinctive karst landscape. Now, a really famous example in Ireland is the Burn in County Clare. It's a really well developed karst landscape found here in Ireland. And we want to know 2 facts about it. We want to know the area of the Burn in County Clare, and we want to know what height it reaches. The area of the Burn in County Clare is 360 kilometres squared. Now, just a little point here under that, it's counties. What counties does it cover? Well, obviously the Burn in County Clare, Clare predominantly, but it also covers parts of Galway. Its height, what height does it actually reach? It reaches up to 344 metres. So again, it's not overly tall here, despite being uplifted during the alpine folding period. In this case here, its highest point is at Slieve Elva. I always try to think of the girl's name, Elva. So we've said the Burn in County Clare is a very distinctive karst landscape found here in Ireland. It covers an area of 360 kilometres squared, including counties Clare and Galway. It reaches heights of 344 metres with its highest point at Slieve Elva. Guys, think about that. You're learning a tiny piece of information and you're keeping your sentences short and sweet. It's not all going into one sentence, short, sweet sentences for each fact. My formation. We want to know 2 things about the formation. We want to know when the Burn in County Clare is formed, and we want to know where we were located at the time. Now, again, where was Irish limestone formed? That's going to coincide when 300 to 350 million years ago. And that was during the Carboniferous period. Not a folding period, a geological period. You might not need to write down Carboniferous because you might see it here and go, Tracy, I'm going to remember that. You might write it down the first time and then narrow it out. Where were we located? Well, we said we're 10 degrees south. We were 10 degrees south of the equator. That's also my symbol for the equator. Now, if you want, put in a little bit extra detail. Tell me when that rock came above sea level, because it was formed on the bed of a warm, clear sea. The skeleton remains of our marine creatures. It was uplifted during the Armonican folding period. Just say Armonican. Again, Armonican is that middle child in your folding periods. So the Burning County Clare was formed approximately 300 to 350 million years ago during the Carboniferous geological period, Carboniferous period. At this time, Ireland was located around 10 degrees south during the equator, and this rock, this limestone, was uplifted during the Armonican folding period, middle child. Again, look how clear, look how easy it is, and all we're learning is this behind me off by heart. Blue writing first, black writing second, keep writing it out, and then when it's all written out, you can start thinking about the essay itself. Now, Carboniferous limestone. Well, Carboniferous is that unique type of limestone, so let's think about its characteristics. The usual. The first thing we all say is that it's hard, it's grey in colour, and it's well jointed. Basically, there's lots of cracks within it. But the main thing, and I'm actually going to place a star beside this because this is very important for physical, but also for here, is that it contains at least 50% calcium carbonate. I'm abbreviating there. Remember, calcium carbonate, don't forget, if you need to write it down again, CaCO3, calcium carbonate. That makes it vulnerable to the chemical weathering process. What's my chemical weathering process? Of carbonation. Carbonation for 10 seconds. Rainwater falls from the sky, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to produce a weak carbonic acid. When that falls in a permeable rock, such as limestone, it alters the insoluble calcium carbonate to soluble calcium bicarbonate that is then washed away by solution. If you need to take 10 seconds and revise that from physical geography, please do. You'll find a little diagram in both at the end of your rock cycle, and you'll also find it somewhere in your weathering. I don't have my page numbers off the top of my head. On to number 5, my surface feature. Well, my main surface feature here is my limestone pavement. That's my overall surface feature, and you find that in the Burning County Clare. But it contains other features, like your grikes. Grikes are joints that have been widened and deepened. How have they been widened and deepened? Because of the process of carbonation, despite us not diving deep into that. You have clints, which are the rectangular blocks of limestone that separate them grikes. You finally have cairns. Cairns are them hollows on the surface of the limestone. Now, just to recap here, but I want to also remind you, it's not a label diagram your examiner is looking for, it's a label sketch map. But how would this actually appear, just in case you can't remember? My limestone pavement tends to look something like this. You can obviously jot in a diagram if you want. What we have here, we have our grikes, we have our clints, and I don't have one drawn down, but I can draw down there. That there would be my cairn, a little hollow on the surface of the limestone. When I speak about this being a well-jointed rock, joints are them vertical cracks. Again, they get wider and deeper to give my grikes. And my bedding planes, which we didn't mention there, are my horizontal. Think about when you lie down in bed, your horizontal. Very, very popular part A to label that, okay? Now, we did say that there's other features that you find in the Burning County Clare, like you find a swallow hole. That is another surface feature. A swallow hole is basically where your river is flowing along like this. It meets a bed or an area where the bed or the bedrock is Carboniferous limestone, and it disappears underground. Generally speaking, it will reappear again when it's a non-permeable rock, something maybe like granite. You also have a turlock and dry valleys. I've just put down 2. So again, you can just list them here. Let's think, can we link that to tourism? Yes, we can, placing this in a red with a star. You can go on walking tours to see this in the Burning County Clare. And hundreds of thousands of people actually do that. They come from all around the world to do that every single year. My subsurface feature. Now remember, the word subsurface means underground. We have plenty of subsurface features, but what we're going to find is that they predominantly lie within caves or caverns. And we straight away know examples of caves in the Burning County Clare. We have the Ailwee Cave, or Alwee, whichever you want to say. And that receives between 10 and 11,000 visitors or tourists every single year. People go to these caves, and what they want to see is they want to see the other features within them caves. What other features can you find? You find your dripstone or speletum, you might remember that word, your dripstone features. Now, you might have to write down these names. I don't. You have your stalactite, your stalagmite, your pillars, and your curtains. If you need to write them down, do, but I think most people are fairly comfortable with that. Finally, my last point here was on my flora and fauna. Remember, flora is my vegetation, that is a V, and fauna is my animals. I'm being very broad on that, but basically think the A is there. There's two A's, hence that's the one for the animals. When I talk about flora, I always think of my alpine flower. It's a unique flower, or variation of flowers, I should say, that's found in the Burning County Clare. Fauna, you find the burn, hence the name, blue butterfly. Now, just from what you have on the board there, and again, probably a little bit more than a flashcard, this is combining your essay. Think about what you have. You're saying a karst landscape is an area of exposed limestone on the surface of the earth. The word karst originates from Kras in southwest Slovenia, where you'll find it really well developed there. The Burning County Clare is an example of a very well developed Irish karst landscape. It covers an area of 360 kilometres squared, covering counties Clare and Galway, and it reaches heights of 344 metres, its highest point being at Slieve Elva. It was formed around 300 to 350 million years ago, during the Carboniferous geological period. Now, at this time, Ireland was located around 10 degrees south of the equator, and it was during the Armonic unfolding period where this rock was uplifted. Now, Carboniferous limestone is the type of limestone associated with the unique landscape known as karst. It's hard, grey in colour, well jointed. But the big thing is, it contains at least 50% calcium carbonate, which means it's vulnerable or susceptible to the chemical weathering process of carbonation. As a result of carbonation, surface features have developed, such as your limestone pavement. A limestone pavement contains grikes, which are vertical joints, which have got wider and deeper, 30 centimetres times 2 metres. Clints, which is your rectangular blocks of limestone that separate these grikes, and finally cairns, which are the hollows that develop on the surface. Sometimes water develops on the surface of that clint, it carves out a hollow, known as a cairn. Now, there are other surface features like your swallow holes, your turlocks, your dry valleys, and hundreds of thousands of tourists visit the Burning County Clare to go on walking tours each year. Here, you also have subsurface features that develop as a lot of the drainage systems in the Burning County Clare are underground, and they carve out caves or caverns like the Ailwee or the Doolin Cave. The Ailwee Cave in particular is a major tourist attraction. It gets between 10 and 11,000 visitors each year. In the Ailwee and Doolin Caves, you'll find stalagmites, stalactites, pillars and curtains, all examples of dripstone features. You'll also find unique flora and fauna in the Burning County Clare, like the alpine flower or the burn blue butterfly. Now think, what are you doing now? You're taking a second, you're learning the blue writing, as per usual. You're writing it out, writing it out, writing it out. Once that's absolutely perfect, you know your structure, you're coming back, you're filling in the black writing. And obviously the red, that's there as well. You're writing it out, writing it out. Once you know that, then you start to try to say it as you have it there. And that will get you your karst landscape perfect. Remember, step by step. Now, to come back over to our original question on the far board, we were asked to look at regions with reference to examples. That is my karst region done and dusted, with my example being focusing in on the Burning County Clare. Next, we're going to be looking at our plain, our North European plain. So guys, our second geomorphological region, our North European plain. So I need you to jump over as far as page number 13 if you're not already there, and make sure you have this opened up in front of you. Now, starting off here, the North European plain, let's run down through our essay. Let's split it up into sections before we break it up on the board behind us. Again, when we're learning this, we go the opposite way. We learn this blue writing, then we learn the black writing, and then we get back into that essay. But starting off there on the top of the page, North European Plain. For given our second example of a geomorphological region, i.e. North European Plain, we're going to get that tick and 2 marks. So make sure you give that there straight away. So starting off in our first paragraph, definition and location are our 2 keywords to place on the left-hand side. Pop them in. Again, they coincide with what is here behind me. The North European Plain, what we know. It's an extensive lowland area. Highlight the words extensive lowland area. It's an extensive lowland area that covers from France, the Paris Basin in particular, to Russia. I want you to highlight France to Russia as well. So it's an extensive lowland area. Now, really with the North European Plain, it covers more of half of mainland Europe, which I'll get to in a second, but it's really low-lying, it's quite flat, slightly undulating towards the centre, okay? So it's a really, really popular area for people to live and also very good agricultural land. So an extensive lowland area that covers from France to Russia. Again, you'll see the map of how long that is there on the bottom of your page on page number 13. It includes the Paris Basin, it includes Denmark, it includes Poland, and also northern Germany. It extends over 4,000 kilometres squared. 4,000 kilometres squared, extending over half of mainland Europe. Highlight half of mainland Europe for me. And it is one of the most densely populated areas in Europe. Now, when we talk about population density is the average number of people per kilometre squared. Take a second to write that down under population density. The average number of persons per kilometre squared. So again, there's a lot of people living in these areas because it's quite flat. Next, we're going to discuss the formation in our second paragraph here. Now, in this case here, the plain was once below sea level where the sedimentary rock was formed. Highlight sedimentary rock forming. Now, take a second because obviously this is linked to the Paris Basin. What are examples of sedimentary rocks? Write down 3 above sedimentary forming. You might be thinking limestone, sandstone, and of course the one that every student seems to forget, not every student, but quite a lot, shale. Sedimentary rocks formed on the sea floor. During the highlight alpine. Now remember, alpine folding period is the youngest folding period. So we have the Caledonian, we have the Armonican, and we have the Alpine. The Alpine is the youngest and it's the one that doesn't impact Ireland. During the Alpine folding, the plain was uplifted and the sedimentary rock stratas, highlight that word strata. What does the word strata mean? Think back to limestone. A strata is a layer. Write the word strata and write the word layer below it. Was uplifted and it was warped. This caused the North European plain to be highlight the word undulating. Undulating rather than flat. Now, beside the word undulating, when you write down the word tilting, it kind of goes like this shape. It's like a syncline, but it's when something undulates, it slightly tilts. So it's not entirely flat, but it's quite flat. Next, let's discuss the material that covers this plain. We're going to split it into 2 categories. Firstly, when our larger sheets of ice melted. So in this case here, we're saying large sheets of ice melted at the end of the last, highlight for me, ice age. When the ice age ended and the ice melted, it deposited fertile, highlight boulder clay and moraine. Now, boulder clay and moraine can be quite fertile on the land, so again, hence that good agricultural land. Next, we see the finer sediment. Highlight the words finer sediment, the likes of sand and silt. We're also transferred by highlight northerly winds. Northerly winds flowing in a southwardly direction. These materials that were deposited by that wind help to create, or form I should say, a fertile, highlight the word limon or loose soil. Now you might remember limon soils from the Paris Basin. They're the soils, the predominant soil in the Paris Basin. You'll find it in areas like the Ile-de-France at the centre. They're found in regions such as the Paris Basin, as I said there, and also in the like of Belgium. Limon soils are a fertile, highlight the word, stoneless. They're a fertile stoneless soil and they're easily cultivated or easily worked. That's a very distinctive characteristic. Stoneless. It means that it's excellent, again, I keep mentioning it, for agriculture. So you see the like of market gardening and you see the like of, growing of crops going on in these areas that have this limon soil. After my materials, let's think about the rivers that cover this region of the North European plain. Highlight large rivers. Large rivers such as the Seine, the Elbe and the Rhine. Now, you might remember the Seine, again, I'm going to keep saying this, from the Paris Basin, because when you look at your map for the Paris Basin, the Seine is what you're going to mark in. We often say things like it provides alluvium for nearby areas, again, providing alluvial soils. Or we might say that people go on boat tours if they're tourism and we're talking about tertiary economic activity. Or alternatively, we might say, for manufacturing heavy goods, like when car manufacturing was quite widespread throughout the Paris Basin, actually that material is transferred on that river. Again, it's cheaper to travel by water rather than land. But the Seine, the Rhine and Elbe, really busy rivers in Europe, they are crossing the region. They provide alluvial soils. As we said, alluvium is that rich silt that's deposited by a river post-flooding, or during flooding, I should say. In this case, we're saying natural communication links and also trade routes. So they have purposes. Finally here, the last one, number 6, is my agricultural land. And this here just links it all together, bringing a little bit of primary economic activity. Again, this is a regional essay. So in this case here, we're saying the lowland, highlight lowland topography. When I say topography, I'm talking about the lie of the land, the landscape in this case here. In this case here, it's an extensive lowland area that's undulating rather than flat. We get usually this kind of tilt. And the fertile soils. Now about fertile soils, one more time, write it down. Limon. It is predominantly a fertile limon soil of the North European plain, allows for intensive commercial agriculture. Highlight the words intensive commercial agriculture. When we speak about commercial agriculture, we're talking about them growing this material for business, basically selling off these goods. And what you're going to find is that these areas are some of the most profitable agricultural regions in the world. The climate is suitable for the like of barley and wheat. Now, I want you to highlight their climate. You might be saying, Tracy, well, why is barley and wheat important? Barley and wheat I would always describe as two very, very fussy crops, okay? Because they need long hours of sunshine, but they also need evenly distributed rainfall. So they need that kind of perfect kind of in-between climate. The like of the Mediterranean would be too hot, or the west of Ireland did have too much rainfall, but here the precipitation is evenly distributed. And also, again, you have enough hours of sunshine. As well as this, highlight modern machinery and technology. Modern machinery and technology have highlighted that word mechanized. They have mechanized farming in the region. Now, to mechanize farming, you have to be not always a core region, but you have to be a well-developed region to allow for this. But also, if you don't have flat, low-lying areas, you're not going to be able to use that machinery, because machinery sometimes is quite large. This basically has produced one of the most productive and profitable agricultural regions in the world. Now that there is my essay, and again, we're splitting it up section by section. Again, notice we're not always talking about the formation here, but instead we're bringing in secondary economic activity. You can see a little bit of tertiary, all that in one. Now let's take what we have and let's break it up. So we're going to start off here with number 1. Again, you're working across the page on page number 14. You have your Kars region there. And the second mind map down you're going to see is your North European plain. First things first, we give the North European plain a tick and 2 marks. Starting off here with number 1, our definition. What is the North European plain? Again, a plain is a flat area, and you're thinking Northern Europe. So what we're going to start off here is that the North European plain is an extensive lowland area. The North European plain is this extensive lowland area that extends from to where? Where does it extend from and to? It extends from France as far as Russia. Now again, on the previous page, you'll have a map just to give you the context of how large that is. If you want to write the word extends here, please do. So it extends from France to Russia. What sort of area does it actually cover? Well, it covers an area, and I'm actually just going to change that word there to the word area. It covers an area of 4,000 kilometers squared. So again, it's a huge area. Think of what countries it includes. Obviously, France and Russia, but it also includes parts of Germany, Poland, and Denmark. Again, even if you get 1 or 2 of those. What we know about this area itself, 2 little things. That's almost half of mainland Europe. Again, you can leave these things out, push them in at the start. When you get them in your head, take it out. And it has a very high population density. Population density is the average number of people per kilometre squared. So we're saying, the North European plain is an extensive lowland area. It extends from France to Russia and covers countries. That includes France, Denmark, Germany, Russia itself. It covers an area of almost 4,000 kilometers squared, which is over half of mainland Europe, and it is one of the most densely populated areas in Europe. But how was it formed? Now, the formation is sometimes very difficult to explain in such a small section. So let's think about the points we actually want to hit for our examiner. We want to tell them the rock type. We want to say when it was uplifted. And we want to say the shape of the rock. So in this case here, the rock type to start off with. Well, we know that this area is covered by sedimentary rocks. So the like of limestone, sandstone, and shale. Don't be afraid to add that in for your examiner. So this sedimentary rock was formed on the sea floor, or the floor of a lake, sea floor in this case. And it was uplifted during what folding period? The Alpine. It was during the Alpine folding period that this was uplifted and it was warped. Because it was uplifted and it was warped, it gave us what sort of a shape? The shape it gave us this sort of undulating. It gave us an undulating rather than flat shape. Now, to be perfectly honest, it's kind of like a syncline. It goes a little bit like this, okay? Now, in this case here, we're moving on to our materials next. My materials in this case, again, is split up into two categories. My materials, we have the materials that came from the end of the last ice age, number one. And my second is the finer materials that were blown down by my northerly winds. So that were blown down by my northerly winds. Now, in relation to the material that was deposited at the end of the last ice age, when them ice sheets melted, that includes the like of boulder clay and fertile moraine. And again, they were deposited in this area. Later on, northerly winds blew down your finer sediment. And this finer sediment, which can include sand and silt, gave us, and I'm going to write this in blue, our soil. This fertile limon soil. And the big thing about a limon soil is that it is a fertile, if you don't need to write down the word fertile, don't, stoneless soil. So it's a fertile stoneless soil, and it's excellent for agriculture because it's easily cultivated. Next, we're on to our rivers. Large rivers cover this region. Can we give some examples? We have the Seine, we have the Rhine, and we have the Elbe. They cover this region. What can they do? They can provide fertile alluvium, and stealing that obviously from our physical geography section, fertile alluvium for soils. They can provide natural communication links and also trade routes for manufacturers. To finish off here, we have agricultural land. Well, what we know is that it's excellent agricultural land. Why is it excellent agricultural land? Well, it's excellent agricultural land or excellent agricultural area, first of all, because of the soil. Or we'll go lowland first. It's a lowland area. It has fertile limon soils. And we didn't say these words, but it has a moderate climate. Because it's a lowland area, it means it allows for machinery, mechanization. It allows for mechanization in these soils. Because you have your fertile limon soils, my limon or my loose soils, whichever you prefer to say yourself, that just means that it's easily cultivated. I'm not going to write anything there. But because of all this, it's an extremely productive and profitable. It's an extremely productive and profitable region. Now that there is my second geomorphological region. Take a second, take this down. First thing you learn is your table. Add in as much detail as you can at the start and then narrow it down. Let's jump back to our question. My question, it asked us to examine how geomorphology can be used to define regions with reference to examples that you have studied. Our karst landscape is done. Again, not a physical essay on karst, it's a different essay. And now we have our North European plain done. We did say we'll aim for kind of an 8-and-7 split, but please note, they've never actually required that 8-and-7 split. And if I wanted to add in a little bit about my intermediary plateaus, I could. But this is the foundations, this is what you're learning. And if you want to add anything else as an extra at the end, grand, but this is what you get learned, guys. See you next time.